Hey guys, it's Jedi Lex, and welcome to the fourth episode of Beyond Tatooine, where I bring on different collectors and talk about how their love of Star Wars originated, as well as take a look at and kind of chat about their collections. And on today's episode, we have JakeJamesLugo from his Jake James Lugo channel. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on and stuff. Just good because we finally get to do something together, which is cool because we've known each
Absolutely.
other for a while. So this is gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we definitely see each other at a lot of events and
Mhm.
definitely hang out a lot, especially with the Flynns, type
Mhm.
thing. So definitely excited to have you on. But can you tell us a little bit about your channel, what you focus on, and where people can find you?
Yeah, so I do a lot of stuff, a lot of different capacities online. I'm constantly putting different content online, especially like my main foundation is my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/at JakeJamesLugo. Literally every single week, I'm uploading new stuff related to gaming, related to Star Wars, related to games industry stuff, pop culture. I do a lot of gameplay videos. I've done a ton of reviews, video reviews on there. There's like a whole playlist of like games that I've played, both retro and new releases, podcasts, again, where I talk about literally everything between games industry stuff, between pop culture, movie related news, movie reviews, etc., unboxings, the list goes on. But outside of that, that kind of like offshoots from the YouTube channel, I'm on TikTok. I'm literally uploading every single day on TikTok, new game related videos, new stuff about Star Wars discussions, game related discussions, unboxings, event coverage, movie reviews, movie premieres. Every time I go out to like a different movie premiere when it's coming out in theaters, I like going to the AMC a lot. So I'm always at my AMC theater just talking about stuff or seeing stuff. Going to events. Like recently I just went to Otaku Fest's what is it, holiday event that was literally like right next door to me. So I was able to go there for a day. It's all Christmas themed, anime convention stuff. So that was fun. Only sad part was no retro gaming stuff, which they got to get up on that. They got to get some vendors over there, and no Star Wars stuff, like hardly any. I found like buttons, like this
Oh
one,
man.
like because you would think, like with Star Wars visions and stuff, but yeah, I do a lot of stuff with that on TikTok. Again, every single day, multiple times a day, trying to post up new stuff all the time. I'm on Instagram. I'm on X/Twitter. I'm on Threads. I'm on Patreon. Literally everything's connected, and it's all under my name, and it's all about stuff that I love to do, which is gaming, movies, TikTok. I mean, pop culture and Star Wars and everything else in between.
Yeah, you are definitely a very busy man. I love keeping up with you. I saw that you just got your new R2D2, the little plate to carry the
Yeah,
drinks. That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
I got that as a Christmas gift this year, and I was like, originally I wasn't going to do any TikTok stuff because I don't like doing stuff during the holidays, because
Yeah.
sometimes I think that's like rest time for everybody, and especially for me, just to chill. But it was like, when you get that inspiration, when you feel like you've got something to say, whatnot, I was like, you know what, let me just do this because I'm going to open this up and try it out and just put it out there for everybody. And plus, it's one of those things like for the R2 unit, just I've done all the stuff that I've gotten for Galaxy's Edge already. Might as well do that and just have it out there. And that's, keep in mind, I didn't mention before, but like that's not even counting all the games media stuff I do because I write also for games outlets, as a freelancer, and I've had my name and work published in other different places like IGN, Playboy, Red Bull Gaming, the Coalition, recently Dot Esports, and I've even gone luckily to write about Star Wars stuff in some of those places too, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's definitely really cool that you get to write those articles and stuff. And the gaming awards, is that correct?
The
Is
Game
that
Awards, the Game Awards just happened. What I was hoping to do this year, and it didn't happen. I was like really trying to campaign for it to get included in the Game Awards future class because I've been trying to do so for the last couple of years since I've been in the games industry. Now, January, I'm going on 14 years that I've been making content about games, online about the industry and stuff. And I've never been included in the future class. And I keep telling people, hey, vote for me, nominate me, let everybody know. And it just didn't happen again this year. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next year that'll be a thing.
No, definitely. Yeah, I filled out the application and stuff for you, and I try to send it
Thank
out to
you.
some of my friends and stuff. But next year might be your year. It's going to be a good
Next
year.
year,
I'm
hopefully,
excited.
fingers crossed.
Yes, crossed for you. So,
Mhm.
who kind of introduced you to Star Wars? Like,
Oh
what brought
man.
you to the Star Wars world?
So I'm OG when it comes to Star Wars as being a fan because my family is really strongly connected to the premiere of Star Wars. My family, my mom and dad saw Star Wars with my older brother in 77 when it first came out. Like that. They lived in New York. Obviously, Star Wars, the big one everybody shows is the one in LA with the Chinese amphitheater. That's obviously a famous thing, but keep in mind, Star Wars was released everywhere that year like that. So my family saw it in 77 in the Bronx, New York, and they've been fans ever since. My older brother, he had most of the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi toy line from Kenner,
Oh
like actual,
wow.
like the entire line, like stuff. And I still have some of them to this day, like a good chunk of them. But as a kid, you don't know any better. Sometimes you play with them too hard, you break them. Everybody does that at some point. And looking back now, I would kick my own little butt, like saying, like, no, don't you break this damn ATST. Like, stuff like that. But for me individually, like outside of them, I grew up watching the VHSs of Star Wars. Like my first Star Wars movie was Return of the Jedi. I watched them out of order. I think I went backwards because I went 6, 5, 4 like that, which is a really weird order for some people. But when you're young and you got VHSs and stuff, you could kind of jump around. It's obviously not coming out in succession at the movie theaters, but that was my first real introduction into Star Wars. Obviously, the special editions in theaters later. I got to go see A New Hope in the theater, but I didn't see Empire or Return of the Jedi in theaters. And it was only not because I didn't want to, but keep in mind at the time when those were coming out, some people looked at those as like the exact same movie. So it's like, why would I go see that? Not even thinking that, all the extra special edition stuff that comes with it that people now would obviously know about because of the internet, like sharing info. But back then they were like, hey, we got Star Wars back at home. We got it on VHS. Like, we don't need to go pay these ticket prices here at the theater to go see this. But again, you didn't know any better back then. But obviously also the prequels. I saw all the prequels in theaters. I've watched all of them. Opening night, every single movie. It was an event. Star Wars was really like a thing for my entire family, but also an event whenever there was something going on that we would always partake in.
Nice. What was it like kind of getting to go to the movie theaters at that time? I didn't get to
Oh,
go
man.
to the prequels.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
definitely too
Let me
young.
tell you. Let me tell you, like, especially like starting off with the Phantom Menace. Like, obviously, there were commercials and stuff with the Star Wars original trilogy and the special editions coming out, and it was a big thing. More specifically, it was a big thing with those with the toys, because remember, we had the Power of the Force collection. This was right before the prequels started up, and I'm a huge fan. We could talk about it later, but I'm a huge fan of the commercials for toys for Star Wars, especially like the action fleet from Micro Machines and stuff. But the Power of the Force collection was a big deal. Some toy collectors dog on it, but it's much bigger than they give it credit for. But for the commercials and the hype and just the overall atmosphere of when episode 1 came out as the Phantom Menace, that was huge. That was that entire wave of excitement and just not just nostalgia, because people were obviously engaging with Star Wars, but like there was a lot of good vibes in the air. You could go everywhere and you could see stuff with Darth Maul's face on it. That was like the whole marketing campaign was literally Darth Maul's face in episode 1 Phantom Menace, with literally everything: toys, food, clothing, banners, billboards, theatrical posters, everywhere. It was all over the place. And the same thing even with episode 2 and episode 3, with those marketing campaigns, as well as those movies were coming out. Now, going into the theater, like those opening nights, actually watching it was so much fun. I think for me personally, I loved going to all 3 of the prequels, despite the quality of the movies. That's an entirely different thing. But like being there in the theater to watch them, an amazing experience. Every time when you see a Star Wars movie, the 2 most hype times or hype experiences I've ever had in a movie theater with a Star Wars movie comes from both episode 2 and episode 3. Episode 2 specifically is when Yoda uses his lightsaber for the first time. I remember being in that room, and the vivid, like visceral reaction that people had is like indescribable. Those that saw that movie back then in theaters for the first time and experienced that for the first time know exactly what I'm talking about when I say like that was like a very primal, most like amazing reaction from the audience seeing that, because it's like, oh my god, Yoda's fighting with a lightsaber. Like, it's, forget about him like all talk, now he's all action. Like he's all about that action at that point. And then the last one was episode 3 when he fights Emperor Palpatine, and there's a specific moment. I mean, again, we all know the whole entire sequence of events, that fight, but when Palpatine, after he shocks him and he walks up to him, he goes, "I've been waiting a long time for this, my little green friend." It was like a rap battle that somebody had dropped a diss or said a line, and it was a visceral reaction too. Everybody was like, "Oh, he said that to Yoda." Everybody in the theater just got in on it. My whole family, me, everybody, strangers. It was such a fun time watching those movies. Like, those are moments and memories that I think everybody has their own little memories when they go see these films, especially even with the sequel trilogy now. Everybody's got their little memories, but those are the ones for me personally that I feel like I'll never forget moments like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That sounds like such a memorable time. I
Awesome.
wish I
Awesome.
got to experience that, but I used to watch them at home and stuff, and I'd have the same kind of reaction getting to see Yoda with his lightsaber and then kind of seeing that zing from Palpatine, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But do you have a favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah, I've been open about this. I'm an OT guy. I love Return of the Jedi, not just because it's the first Star Wars movie I saw, but obviously there's that, to me, in a number of ways, is one, not only the best conclusion to a trilogy of all time in cinema, or right next is it's this Star Wars trilogy, the OT trilogy, and Lord of the Rings, like with Return of the King. Like, those are, Return of the King is like another one they look at as like, that's like the best conclusion for a trilogy, like in cinema, like hands down. But for me, it's Return of the Jedi, because I mean, look at all the stuff you get from that hype from those first two movies. You get Luke Skywalker finally becoming a Jedi Knight in some ways, him looking like a badass coming out in black the first time you see him in Jabba's palace. I mean, the whole thing with the second Death Star, Lando Calrissian, everybody saving Han Solo, the Emperor, who's been built up since the previous movie, or technically even before that, Darth Vader, that whole final clash on the Emperor's throne room. Like, there's a lot of big moments that, especially if you saw it as a kid, like really stick with you. So for me, I know a lot of people go to Empire, and I think there's a lot of revisionist history between Empire and even A New Hope stuff. But for me, it's always been Return of the Jedi. As much as I love the prequels too. Again, my favorite prequel is either Phantom Menace or Revenge of the Sith, to be honest. But still, my top one is always going to be Return of the Jedi.
No, I get you. It's a great movie. Did you actually get to go see it this past May 4th?
Yes, I did. I made it a point to do that. Now, I didn't go on May 4th that day. I had to go, I think it was either a day before or a day after when I did it, because of the available screenings in my area, which for whatever reason, Disney or Lucasfilm needs to do something about those like screenings when it comes to like big stuff. They do like with Ahsoka, when they did that big screening of the mid-season stuff. They need to have more screenings and more times for people, because down here in South Florida, in our area, there wasn't a lot. There was only one theater that was showing Return of the Jedi, which is like, you know, it's the 40th anniversary. Why not show it everywhere? And that was the one spot I had to go to. But I made it a point to go see that because it was the 40th anniversary, because it's Return of the Jedi, and because it's a Star Wars movie in theaters. So like, I'm not going to not go see it. Like, it's just not going to happen. But I did that, and I had a lot of fun with it. I went alone, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Did you get to actually see Return of the Jedi when it initially came out?
No, because I was born afterwards. I was born in 88.
Gotcha.
My brother did. He sought to see all three original trilogy movies, because he was very young, because it was 77 when my older brother was around, when my parents, that they went to go see that. And then he saw Empire and Return of the Jedi in theaters in their initial run. So he had that initial OG hype when that whole series was just getting started like that. And keep in mind, he had the Kenner toys too, because he was big in the Kenner toys. So once those movies came out, he was buying all those toys. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, I don't blame him. But yeah, the Return of the Jedi was really cool, but there was very limited screenings. I mean, we got lucky getting it on the 4th, but and then even with the Ahsoka episode 5 that they did,
I was so mad about that, because
Yeah.
the closest one I saw was like in Orlando, and I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, there's so many people down here, especially in Miami, the big theater they got down in Miami. Everybody would have loved to go. I would have gone.
I
totally
would have
gone.
driven for sure,
What?
because that
That
was a
would've been a
crazy
day.
episode. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have totally driven to Miami. But yeah, there was like nothing local, and I was kind of shocked. I was really upset. I was like, man, but fine, I'll just watch it at home, it's all good.
Mhm. Exactly.
And then have you watched any of the like live action or animated shows? Are you a
Of
fan of
course.
those?
Of course. That's part of my job, to be up to date with
Absolutely.
all this stuff, like everything. Like, I mean, I liked Ahsoka. I thought Ahsoka was fun. I have my opinions about it, like episode to episode, and the quality of it. Like, I didn't like the season finale, but that's just a minor nitpick to me compared to the rest of the season. Because like those moments when everybody was down to watch episode 5, when you got Hayden coming back with Rosario
Yes.
Dawson, with all this other stuff. I mean, everybody was excited and happy. Like, you can't dismiss stuff like that for the new shows. I love Mandalorian season 1 and especially season 2 with the way that ended. Didn't I like season 3, even though I watched all of it? I have very divisive thoughts about Andor. I think Andor, to me, as a show, is overhyped for various reasons. Even though I love Rogue One. The animated stuff, I love Clone Wars. I like Rebels to an extent, maybe a little bit more so than most other people, because I think Clone Wars, as far as volume and the amount of stories, I think is the better show. And I actually like the Bad Batch. I think the Bad Batch is a little bit underrated, especially for season 2. And I'm looking forward to the next one. And then Visions. Vision's a big one. And all the other shows that have come out, even the kiddie shows, I've watched in some capacity, just to stay, afloat and stay informed about everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a few that I haven't watched that I've been trying to get through, but
Resistance. I bet you it's Resistance. Everybody's not watching
Resistance. I don't think I've touched Resistance, but there's
Resistance
like a little kiddie
forgettable.
show.
There's like no other than the connection to Ahsoka. Yeah, it's to Ahsoka, where that one guy is like the father of a character from Resistance. That entire series is forgettable.
Yeah, I haven't. There's a couple on there that are like a little bit more kiddie that I haven't watched, but I've watched Bad Batch. Absolutely love it. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in season 3. Do you have any speculations? I mean, I don't want to spoil it.
I think because we well, again, without spoiling, we've had some big things happen at the end of this season, which I thought was crazy. I didn't think they were going to be that bold to do that. But with this next one, because I think season 3 is going to be the last season, from my
Yep.
understanding. So I think we're going to get some big stuff, and there's certain expectations of things to happen that kind of fit within canon. And I mean, again, I don't want to spoil it, but a lot of people that have watched the show already probably get what I'm alluding to. What I did think was surprising for season 2 was that the 2-part episode where it's the political episode that they have in the middle of there, where they're trying to deal with, okay, what does the Republic do with the clones after the Clone Wars? Like that,
Yep.
that to me is some of the best political stuff that Star Wars has done, and it does not get enough credit for a lot of people. Like, if you want to do politics in Star Wars, as far as like the workings of the Republic, the workings of the Senate, and stuff like that, that was a perfect episode, or 2-parter, I should say, to do something like that.
Yeah, they did a lot of really good stuff, so I'm excited to see if they're gonna continue forward with that momentum or if they'll
Mm.
kinda slow back, but I believe it is the last season that they're
Mm.
gonna do for that,
Yeah,
but I know that in 2024, we're also getting a lot of really great projects, The Acolyte,
big
Skeleton
ones. Yeah.
Crew. I think Andor got pushed back,
Andor
that's in
got pushed back to
season.
2025, I think it is, because
Yeah,
originally, if from my understanding, it was supposed to be either the end of this year into next year, but then that
yep.
got pushed back far because a lot of stuff has been shifting around with Hollywood, especially with Lucasfilm and Disney specifically. But next year we're gonna get Acolyte, and I think we're gonna get Skeleton Crew, more than likely. Like that, I don't think we're gonna get a movie.
Yeah, I don't know about a movie, but I know that it's in the pipeline, but I definitely
Yeah,
don't think for
they're making them.
2024 it's gonna happen, but possibly 2025, 2026.
Yeah,
Hopefully. I would love it,
right. Fingers
movies. There's so
crossed.
many different projects I would love. Is there any project in particular that's coming up that you're super excited about? Or
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I mean, from hearing about the news as it drips out and stuff, especially coming off of Ahsoka now, I definitely want to see Dave
Mhm.
Filoni's movie, because originally there
Yes.
was rumors and a lot of news within the last like month or so that season 4 of Mando was going to be that movie or turn into a
Mhm.
movie, and that's not the case. We're getting season 4 of Mando, but the Dave Filoni movie, I think a lot of people have already come to understand that it's going to be Heir to the Empire. I really do hope though that it's called that, because then, like, even though there'll be a little bit of confusion with the book and stuff, this is still the new Disney canon. I think people are smart enough to kind of separate the two, but I feel like there's a lot of like elements that are all coming together that I think he should call it that, and it would be perfect for Star Wars fans, because a lot of people are excited about it. They like, for the most part, despite all the criticism, they like what Dave has done with some of his stuff with Ahsoka, with Mando, with all these other shows. That's probably the one I'm the most excited about. The ones that I find the most questions about, or at least I'm waiting seeing about it and being very coy, the Ray project, whatever the Ray movie is going to be, whatever they
Yes.
call it, because they don't have a name for it. The James Mangold, The Dawn of the Jedi. I feel like this is a weird project to go to, because a lot of people wanted them to do the Old Republic. Like, that's a thing that they've
Yes.
wanted for years, myself included, as a fan of KOTOR. And for whatever reason, they have the little mark on the Star Wars timeline, but they're just not doing anything with it. It's like, come on now. Like, it's
Yep.
there. People want it. What are you doing? So going far before that, I think was a weird choice. And the same thing also with there's one other one that I think I'm missing right now. Is it there's the Mangolds, there's Dave Filoni, and then okay, so those are the 3 movies that I did right there. So I think everything else is all series at this point.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think it was 3 movies. Yeah, the Rey one, I'm a little skeptical about. I'm hoping that they'll be able to kinda turn that around, and it will be better than what we've gotten prior, especially
Yeah.
with the sequels. But
It's a
the
very
Heir to
weird choice.
yeah, it's definitely very interesting, and I'm surprised she kinda returned, but we'll see where that
You know when
goes.
that's going to be good? It'll be more interesting if John Boyega could confirm to come back, because he's
Oh, yeah.
famously, again, he's come out and said like he was kind of not feeling it. And the same thing with Adam Driver. I feel like if that movie gets those people, as well as also Oscar Isaac, to come back in some capacity, I think that's when things get interesting, because then they're getting all the original sequel trilogy crew together. Maybe they give them some material that'll really work, because I think their biggest challenge now for that movie in particular is to make Ray a lot more resonating with the audience in general, not just the
Yes.
people that love those 3 movies, but everybody else up beyond that.
Yeah, because I think that's something that they kinda struggled with, and I don't necessarily think it was Daisy Ridley's fault.
Oh,
I
no,
think
it's
it
not
was
her
kind of
fault.
the
It's not
writing
her fault.
of those sequels, but, it would be cool to see if they would bring them back, but I think that, yeah, they kind of really did my boy Finn wrong,
Yeah, they
and
really
he's
did.
been
John
very
Boyega,
vocal about
that's
it.
the one dude in all of Disney and Lucasfilm, like current day, like that's got the
Yeah,
most legit beef with Lucasfilm, because I feel like there was some potential there. There was clearly some things laid out in The Force Awakens for him that I think would have been really interesting, would have been really cool. And I think everybody would have gone behind, but they just fumbled the bag like real hard with it, just going
yes,
into the
yes,
next
they
2
did.
movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you think that he would come back? Because I feel like he's very distasteful
He's
of
very
Lucasfilm at the
this is
moment.
weird to kind of predict it because at first he was like, no, like there's a
Yeah.
famous quote where he comes out, he goes, "You're not going to Disney Plus me," which I can, you gotta, everybody I think could understand where he's coming from because of how
Yeah.
they handled
Totally.
him and they handled this character. Where they came out at one point, I think it was a couple months ago or like earlier this year or sometime around Star Wars Celebration, that he had a meeting with Kathleen Kennedy and they had some sort of conversation there, which to me was probably her and him talking about whatever this new movie is, which would make sense. It would, the timing would kind of match up. I think that they're going to have to pay him a very big bag of money in order to get in and try to convince him with a good story to kind of really do justice to something that could really stand out for him because he was so excited about being about included into Star Wars, and you could see the total change in the attitude within the next two movies afterwards. Same thing with Oscar Isaac. Yeah, not Oscar. What is it? Adam Driver. Adam Driver's another one who just recently started talking about Star Wars again because he was not feeling what happened throughout all those three movies. So if they could find a way to really bring those people on board and really get them together for something they're going to be happy with, I think this will be a lot more successful than anybody else could give it credit for.
No, definitely. It would be interesting to see if they could get the sequel gang back together, but
Mm.
I don't know, I guess we'll kind of have to see, as the news comes out what that's going to look like. And I know that there's
Yeah.
been a lot of hype and kind of fan created things for the Heir to the Empire, which I think would be absolutely awesome. It looks even the fan made poster is like
Yeah.
crazy. So I'm definitely very interested to see where that's gonna go. And as far as the Old Republic stuff, I feel like I don't know what I was watching the other day, but it was something in regards to the Acolyte, and of course it was like a fan made trailer kind of thing. But they were kind of hinting towards possibly bringing Revan forward, so maybe that's what we'll
There
kind of
was
get. But I
some
don't know how accurate that
there,
is.
there was some talk at one point that was it, I forgot the name. I think it's Leslie Headland, I think is the person behind the Acolyte or one of the people behind the Acolyte that came out, and there was some discussion about meeting with Keanu Reeves because everybody has fan casted for years Keanu Reeves to be Revan or Darth Revan. And it'd be interesting because the time frame of the Acolyte is during the end of the High Republic, like the very tail end of it before the Phantom Menace, or like it's about 100 years. Some people have said 200. It's actually supposed to be 100 years, I thought, originally what they said. And the timing of it wouldn't match up. So it would have to be like Revan in some sort of like archival type of like capacity where it's like maybe somebody's looking at a holocron or something. What I'm confused about with the Acolyte, and even though the idea and the premise of it sounds interesting, like focusing on Sith characters or people that are trying to be Sith, because remember, during even in this time frame, there's only two Sith,
Mhm.
which were technically in this era, again, canon or non-canon withstanding would be Darth Plagueis and his master, Darth Tenebrous, I think it is. But they have to come up with a nice, good explanation of like how some of this stuff works, as well as also how these people are not around for the following stories that happen years afterwards. Because remember, whoever's in this series is something's got to happen to them to match up with canon, or something's got to be given a good explanation because there can only be within the High Republic and afterwards could only be two actual Sith. Other everybody else is just dark side users or dark side acolytes, which would match up to the name if you really think about it.
Yep.
But just make it a good, interesting story to me and get me on board with the High Republic. I feel like because a lot of stuff with the High Republic as of yet hasn't really pulled me in. And I thought, funny enough, I thought Jedi Survivor was going to be it for me, and that didn't do it
Mhm.
for me with the High Republic stuff.
No.
And also Star Wars Eclipse, which is still in development for way down the line. I think that's going to be the thing that gets me into the High Republic.
Yeah, I've gone and like I've seen, the different comics for it in the books, but I just something about it just hasn't really reeled me in. I know there's a lot of hype surrounding it and a lot of people that do love it, especially the books, but there just really hasn't been anything that's like really drawn me to really go want to,
Hasn't clicked
pick up
yet.
these comics or I mean, I'm hoping that one day it does because it does seem like a very interesting story, but for
Mm.
whatever reason I just haven't really gotten into it, but
There's a
there
big
is a
time
lot.
frame. There's a
It
big
is a
time frame there
huge
of
time
stories that,
frame.
like, they could tell. And again, I haven't read all the books, and what really pushed me away from the books and the comics was some of the word of mouth about it because I don't always read the books for Star Wars, even the EU stuff, but I do listen to the audiobooks. Like I listen to a
Mhm.
lot of the audio stuff on Audible, like obviously the Heir of the Empire stuff, the Darth Plagueis novel, Shadows of the Empire, etc. Like I like going to that stuff every once in a while. Dooku Jedi Lost is another one that I would go and check out. But with the High Republic, I've always wanted a reason to go check that stuff like that out, because I know there's a lot of books, but a lot of the word of mouth hasn't really convinced me to really dive into it because it's like I'd rather just wait it out, check out some of the other stuff that's in canon and other stuff that's related to the Disney Plus projects and actually see, if those games when they do come out or other projects related to them in the games when they come out, if that'll actually get me like enticed enough to actually be involved with it.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I'm hoping that one day I'll get that draw to actually go have to read it. But there's just a lot to it that I maybe that's what's too overwhelming for me is the amount of books and comics that there are that I just would have to go find and read. But maybe one day, hopefully, we'll get a project on that. But there is a lot of really cool stuff coming up. Like TV wise, is there any new Star Wars games that are in the pipeline?
Well, yeah, I'm actually, again, pretty soon with an outlet, I'm going to be pitching an op-ed or a feature about this, as far as
Hmm.
updates for Star Wars games, because I've been following this for a while now, for a number of years for various games. Obviously, we just had Jedi Survivor. That was the big one. I enjoyed it this year. I had a lot of fun with that. Technical problems aside, stuff, because a lot of people really kind of dogged on it for that reason. But when you separate all that, the game's awesome, especially for Star Wars fans that love Jedi Fallen Order. But outside of that, there's a couple. We got Star Wars Hunters, which to me, I'm on record for saying that game looks terrible. It does not look that good. That it's supposed to be like the Overwatch, but with a Star Wars decal on it. As far as like a hero shooter that's competitive, almost kind of like an esport. But it's been in very early access beta or some sort of like weird regional beta in other countries that it's for Switch and for mobile. People are playing it in those places, but it's not out here. It's not out in other places. Really weird how they've done that for an official quote unquote release. And it got pushed back again, I think, to 2025, which is supposed to be out at the beginning of this coming year now, 2024, but they pushed it back again. And it's just that game has been handled in like the weirdest fashion. The other games that obviously we got to confirm that the next Jedi game is being made by Respawn, which is Jedi, whatever they call it, it's Jedi 3 and stuff, which is going to be cool because our boy Cameron Monaghan came out. I was like, yeah, we're doing this. Like it's happening at a con. He was like real sneaky about it. He's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be telling you this, but common sense, we're making it. So
Yep.
That's cool. Obviously, Respawn has got other games that they got in the pipeline. We got their FPS game, which I wrote a story about this over on Clownfish TV a while back, that it's an FPS that's inspired by the Jedi Knight series. So we're talking Kyle Katarn Jedi Knight games, FPS, which could be really cool. Obviously, it might not be about Kyle Katarn, which would be awesome if we could get that, but an FPS set in the Star Wars universe made by the same people who did Titanfall. That's interesting to me. That I feel like, would be really, really cool because those are Call of Duty peeps. They've done a lot of great stuff with the FPS genre. And if we could get a really good, solid FPS that's like really action heavy and just like awesome in the Star Wars universe and inspired by those games, I'm down for it. Like that sounds like a lot of fun. And then finally, the other one that they're doing is the RTS, which some people say it might be inspired by Empire War. Empire War, for anybody that doesn't know, is the big RTS for Star Wars on PC. There's been a couple of them, like Galactic Battlegrounds, was it Star Wars Force Commander? But Empire War is like the apex of all that because of all the mod scene and everything. It's ridiculous. So much fun that they do on PC. But that's one that's being done by Respawn, and they're doing it with another company. I can't remember at the moment, but they've also done RTSs both on mobile and on PC as well. So that sounds like it'd be interesting, but they just haven't said much about it other than it's in the works, it's being made. And I think the only other Star Wars games, obviously, is Star Wars Outlaws, which I've written about, I've covered. I did a whole op-ed on .esports about it, that it's actually the first open world Star Wars game that we're getting, period. I had to do a whole bunch of research about it, but the point is that they're giving us stuff for Star Wars fans that have played a lot of the games that we've asked for years. Being able to go from the ground planet to space seamlessly, travel to multiple planets, be able to run around in like a GTA style, setting in the Star Wars universe, work for Jabba, work against Jabba, work with the Empire, work against the Empire, like stuff like that they revealed with that gameplay reveal. I think it's during the Ubisoft Forward event. That was awesome. Like that game I'm hoping comes out early spring for 2024, but I think it might even be towards the end of 2024 because we're probably going to get another trailer. We're probably going to see a little bit more. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I get to be part of that preview event to actually see it firsthand because I just did it recently with Ubisoft for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. So it's Ubisoft, so fingers crossed.
No,
and I think it's one more is Star Wars Eclipse. Star Wars Eclipse, I think, is the last one that's coming up, but that's still being worked on. It's far off. We had the reveal trailer, but it was revealed way too early. They had a lot of internal stuff going on with the studio at Quantic Dream, but they got things back on track according to them. There was a French report that actually said, hey, we were trying to hire more staff. They were trying to get more people to come to the studio to work with them. And they've just been doing motion capture and other stuff. So they need to cook for a little bit longer to actually make their game. And I bet you come 2024, end of it, we'll probably see it again. 2025, 2026, I think is when we actually start to see some real stuff from that game and actually see what they've been up to. Because I think that game is going to be very ambitious, because Quantic Dream does awesome games with Detroit Become Human, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls. If you've ever played any of those games, that's up their alley. And imagine that for Star Wars, and I think it'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting games. I'm definitely very excited for Outlaws because I'm a big GTA player. I like that kind
Mhm.
of open worldness you can kind of do and do as you please type thing. So
Yeah,
I've seen the trailer for that, so that's interesting. It'd be cool to see if we get another trailer for that. But I'm hoping that does drop this year because I am looking for a new game to play. But in regards to Jedi Survivor, great game. I finished that one up finally. It took me
nice.
forever, but I was definitely excited to hear that they're going to do a third one because I
Yeah.
mean, but they
They
even
want to
have
do a trilogy. They came out and
yeah,
said they
they
want to do a trilogy.
absolutely. So it'll be exciting to kind of see where that one is going to go because I think between the first and the second one, there was a big improvement. I really liked
Yeah.
it. They made a big push forward, so it'd be exciting to see where we're going to go from now 2 to 3. But I would even like to see him in a live action type,
Oh yeah,
you know.
Cameron. Yeah, that'd
Yeah,
be
like we
awesome.
have him as an actor. Why not bring him to live action, you
People
know?
want that. People really have wanted that for a long time. And here's the thing: Cameron's a great actor. He does a lot of good stuff, and
Yes.
he loves Star Wars. And when you saw him at Star Wars Celebration, like I mean, he
Yes.
was joking about the poncho. He was hanging out with everybody. He really loves this franchise, and he really loves these games. And I think him and the voice actress of Marin, they have great chemistry together for their characters.
Mhm.
It's a lot of fun. I think that whatever this third game is, it's going to be the end of Cal Kestis' story, which is going to be sad to see. But I don't think that's going to be the last time we see Cal. I think they could figure out some way to make it so that way he could appear in some sort of live action capacity, like whether it's Andor, whether it's something random of like some other show, Skeleton Crew. I don't know, like something
Yeah.
they could do that'll make it really interesting because he clearly loves this franchise and the fans love him, from these games.
No, it would be sad for, if they kind of just finished out the third game and just let it go because he's a great actor. Like I followed him through Shameless and Gotham, and I feel like
Yeah,
I would love to kind of see his transition into the Star Wars live action. But I would be definitely sad if, they kind of just finish out the game and that was it for him. But I'm hoping that, whether it's his own show or if he makes an appearance, I just would love to kind of see him act out Cal Kestis in that
yeah.
form rather than in the game. But either way, it's
He could clearly
exciting.
do it. There's
Oh,
motion
yeah,
capture footage of him actually being active and doing all this stuff. He does all that.
absolutely.
So it'd be
Yeah,
awesome to see that.
yeah, yeah, I've seen all the different videos and stuff, and I'm like, "Dude, this would be seamless almost to just move him from the video game into a live action
Be
type
awesome.
series." Like, it would be easy, like, easy money, and I think that's kinda where I struggle because there's a lot of points that, Star Wars, fans really want. We want a KOTOR, we wanna see Revan, and we're
Oh,
just
dude,
kind of getting,
that was the biggest disappointment. Like the
yeah.
thing is, because I looked into it more because I had to write about it, I had to research a little bit more about it from the various reports that were going on because
Mhm,
there were different places that were breaking news about Knights of the Republic remake. And not only do people want that, like that's a legendary RPG, not just a Star Wars game. The importance of KOTOR
yeah,
1 specifically helped make the Xbox what it was on top of stuff like Halo and such as far as role-playing games. Because with KOTOR, you also got Jade Empire, and then eventually leads into Mass Effect, which is again a whole path of like RPGs that people love. But with KOTOR, that story and that setting of the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars galaxies, it's just something that people would have expected Lucasfilm to really capitalize on. And from my understanding, from the reports that have come from multiple places, there's Jeff Grubb that reported on it, and then we got Jason Schreier, who also Jason Schreier is the one journalist in the industry, in the games industry, has ninjas. So when he gets info and he says something, it's legit from like the most like pristine sources that have been vetted hundreds of times. The point is that Lucasfilm wants to do this. They want to actually do something KOTOR, and they want to do KOTOR remake. They want to get another company to finance it. The thing is, they don't want to pay for it for themselves. So they want to get like another company not only to develop it, but also a publisher like one of the big companies like PlayStation or Xbox to fund it. Which I understand that's part of the business, but to me, it's really hard to believe that you can't find a company or some sort of group that would actually get on board with this, especially Xbox. Xbox, when I first heard about it with PlayStation being a console exclusive for a set time frame, I was like, wow, that's a big L for Xbox because that's an Xbox game. Like KOTOR is an Xbox series, like straight up. And once that they dropped the ball with that, I was like, yo, the only other person that could realistically pick this up would be Microsoft, would be Xbox themselves, because somebody got to call up Larry Herb and be like, oh, listen, people want this game. Go make this an Xbox Series X exclusive. And it'd be over for a lot of people.
yep. Yeah, I'm hoping they do because I'm an Xbox person, so I haven't
Yeah.
really gotten to PlayStation, so that'd be cool if they did,
There's a
strictly an
lot of great
Xbox.
the thing is, there's a lot of great Star Wars stuff on PlayStation platforms, like, throughout the years, but, like,
Yeah.
even on current gen now, like, I love playing because I have all my consoles and stuff, but I love playing my Star Wars games on PS5. I love playing Battlefront 2 on there. I love going to Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order. I love Squadrons on there,
Mhm.
especially Squadrons with PSVR. I always thought that that experience was really cool, but it's just not easily accessible to a lot of people because getting a PSVR and setting that whole thing up is a whole hassle in of itself. Same thing with the Vive and the Oculus Rift or whatever. But the Star Wars games have a great presence across all platforms, especially on PlayStation. Like even the Nintendo Switch. Funny enough,
Yep.
getting all these remasters, some of which they're still missing, which I'm still upset about because there's some easy layups they could have done. But like getting the Jedi Knight games, getting KOTOR 1 and 2 on the Switch, which is a huge win in my opinion. Getting
Yep.
Republic Commando, like there's a lot of great. And then pretty soon, by the way, because I don't know if you saw the news, we might be getting the episode 1, the Phantom Menace game on PS Plus for essential
Really?
re-release for it. Yeah, that got rated. I think it got rated in Taiwan recently, like in the last like couple weeks. So that might be coming to PS Plus. So like there's goodness there for everybody.
Yes. There definitely is. There's a lot. There's different Star Wars games for everybody, and I definitely enjoy kind of playing them. I've been working through what is it? One of the Lego games. I think it's the Skywalker
Skywalker
Saga
Saga.
right now.
Yeah,
So I've
that
been
game. I
playing
love
that
that
one on
game.
the
That game's
Switch.
great.
It's fun. Like, you
It's
get to go to
cute.
the different
It's you could
worlds
spend a lot
and
of time. It's cozy. It's chill. And plus, that's the most ambitious Lego game because the most ambitious Lego games, it has what is it? It has multiple planets you could go to and
yep.
so much space you could explore. Which and there's all those like characters, all those collectibles. Like you're gonna spend so much time playing that game. It's so much fun.
Yep. It's definitely it's nice to kind of just relax and like lay back and play that. It's definitely a little bit more
Yeah,
relaxed and chill than the typical other games that I've played, especially Jedi Survivor. That one was can get pretty intense at times.
yeah.
So it's nice to kind of just, chill out and play that. So I've been going between
Yeah.
that and Fortnite recently, but that's
That's
always a
right.
fun one.
Fortnite's been getting a lot of collabs with Star Wars, and they're the
Yeah.
ones that are keeping up that the same type of hype for that Battlefront 2 like crowd that aren't
Mhm.
getting anything. Which again, huge fumble by EA by not supporting that game far beyond. With all these Disney Plus shows, they could have been making hand over fist money with that. But all those people that would normally buy stuff for Battlefront 2 have been going to Fortnite and getting all the Star Wars stuff there.
Yep. Yeah, I've gotten I have a decent amount of the Star Wars skins. I always try to play, and then
Mhm.
me and my sister will go back and forth and try to get those. I think the latest skin that they did was like Ahsoka, I believe, but
Yeah, it was
they actually
Ahsoka.
just
Rosario Dawson,
yeah.
Ahsoka.
And then they brought it. I think it was last week possibly, but they like brought back into the shop like Padme, Anakin,
Yeah, I
Obi-Wan,
remember that.
all the different clone troopers. I was like, oh man, like I
They
wish I
are
had some
really doing some good
V-Bucks.
stuff with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's been a fun play. I always play as a Star Wars character. I've got Maul, I got Anakin, so I've
Mhm.
got a few of them, but that's always a good time.
Nice.
Yeah. So okay, so there's a lot of gaming projects that are coming up, which is exciting, and I am very excited for Outlaws. I feel like that'll be pretty cool. So that hopefully that'll be this year, and it won't get pushed back like some of the other Star Wars projects. But
Yeah.
I guess, do you have a favorite character in all of
Favorite
Star
character
Wars?
in all of Star Wars, it's difficult because I'm always a Luke Skywalker guy by default, but that's like
Hmm.
an easy cop out. I like Revan, obviously for KOTOR. I like Cal Kestis because I like him specifically from Jedi Fallen Order. I always felt that Fallen Order had the better story over Survivor, even though Survivor's got the better gameplay, hands down, like
Yeah.
without question, because it's so big and there's many other stuff. As far as outside of those characters, I would have to say I'm a big Boba Fett guy, like pre Book of Boba Fett and stuff. Um, and then beyond that, I think obviously favorite droid has always been R2D2. I've always been a fan. Like I like
Really?
droids here and there, and every once in a while, a lot of people love BB-8, and I think BB-8 is cute. But I think just R2 and just the design of R2, I always thought was pretty dope because it's so unique and so recognizable as like a sidekick character or a side character that's like associated with a particular property. And I just, again, even my R2 unit, I built it like R2D2
Yep.
because when I went to Galaxy's Edge, I wanted an R2 unit, but I wasn't going to build a BB-8 or an R4. I thought about getting an R4 unit, just to be a little
Really?
different. I was like, no, I love R2D2, but let me
Yeah.
get like a different model, like color of R2D2. And it just worked out great.
Yeah, I ended up building when we went for, I think it was like my 21st birthday. I got to build a droid, and I went with like an R2 unit. I was
Mm.
like kind of confused by the BBs, the BB units, because I was like, how is that going to
It's
roll? And
weird
like,
to
I don't,
put together.
yeah.
Like,
And I was like, and I don't want the head just like flying off. And,
exactly. That's
I didn't
exactly
want to
why I
do
didn't do it.
that. And I didn't want to do an R5 because I felt like that was like, I don't know. I like the R5 unit, and then, they kind of gave him some more hype with the Mando season 3. But I was like, you know what, R2 is classic, so I built like a little
Exactly.
black and gray, and it was pretty cool. It was a very fun experience. I love Galaxy's Edge.
I
Hopefully
had
they go
fun when
soon.
I went because I tried to do everything because I hadn't been to Disney in a very long time. It's been
Mhm.
like over 10 years I hadn't gone to Disney, but I was going specifically for Galaxy's Edge and I wanted to do every single thing there. So I built my droid, which is right there. I built my lightsaber that I got the Peace and Justice lightsaber because that was a experience in of itself that I wanted to do and it
Yes.
was fun. I got a blue lightsaber crystal when I was there, and then I bought a purple one afterwards from Doc Ondar's. And then the cantina. The cantina was so much fun for me because you got the DJ droid there, and I got the Yub Nub drink so I could get the Endor cup like that
Yes.
I showed you in my collection because to me that was the only original trilogy thing that I saw there, and I was like, I gotta get this because this cup just
Yeah.
looks awesome. It looked like the Ewoks carved it and stuff. I almost got the Rancor teeth. I was this close to
Oh,
getting it. The only
really?
reason why I didn't get it is because it's literally just teeth, and I thought that the Yub Nub cup just looks so much better to me as like a souvenir cup and stuff. And I got the drink from it too. So
Yep.
the drinks there were great. Like I had so much fun just
Yeah.
going there.
Oga's is such a great time. I thoroughly anytime I go to Disney, I always try to go to Galaxy's Edge, and we always try to get the reservation at Oga's because
Yeah, you
it's just
gotta
such a
go.
it's such like a unique experience. Like you get to go
Mhm.
in, you got DJ Rex playing, you've got, kind of the people that work there that, really
Yeah,
kind
they're
of
very nice.
pull that all together. I always get extra coasters, love those
Yes.
coasters. But all the drinks are usually really good. I've had some of the snacks too. There's like that
I
little
didn't get to have
booth.
snacks though. Like I wanted to because I didn't
No?
get the snacks in the cantina. I got the snacks at the docking bay. I think was it docking bay 7 or whatnot, like right next
One
door.
of them.
Like that. I went there a couple times because I went there for breakfast. I got the parfait, like that, which
Mhm.
is like with the big turbine there. I got that. I had the Gold Squadron Jaeger that I had there one time. I had
Okay.
the tuck, I think it's Taconada or Tatooine Sunset. It's like a fruity type of drink that they had there in the morning that I got. And then the Ronto wrap, obviously. I had to get the Ronto wrap because the thing is huge.
Or
I was like, I just, get it like that. The only thing I didn't get was probably the blue milk that's in the cantina that's different than the one outside. I heard
oh,
the one outside is I make a better blue milk at home. Like I got a better
yeah.
recipe than what they got with the blue and green milk. But the one I heard that was in the cantina was alcoholic, and I just never got it because it comes with some sort of cookie or whatever. I just never picked it up.
Yeah, I tried the one that's, like, outside. We got one of the blue and one of the green, and I was like, "Never again. I can't.
That
Never
bad for you.
again."
The green
Like,
is
I didn't
horrible. The
Yeah,
green
the
is
green was
bad.
worse than the blue, but even
The
the
blue
blue,
was
I was
like
kind of like,
passable, but it's like I can make
yeah,
better than this. Like
yes. No, they had better blue milk, the, boba blue milk at, the Flynn's Arcade, that the event that we
yeah.
went to. That one
Yeah,
was
that's right. That one
delicious.
was awesome.
I was
Like
like, "You need to give this man you need to give Disney your recipe because I don't know what
right.
they're doing over there, but you're making better stuff here." But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It's always a good time at Galaxy's Edge. Just like anytime I go to Disney, I have to go to like
Let me ask
Galaxy's
you, when you went, did you get to ride the Falcon alone? Because I did. I got to
Edge.
ride the
No,
Falcon alone in the morning. Okay. So when I
really.
went, right, I obviously had to hit all the rides, and you know how big the lines could get and stuff. So when
Yes.
I first got in there, I did what's called line breaking at Disney. You know this is like you're the first group of people there, and they
Yep.
break the line. You could just run to wherever you want, right? So I made a beeline to Galaxy's Edge, and because the line had already gotten so big with Rise of the Resistance, I was like, let me go to the Falcon. Nobody's at the Falcon. Literally walked inside, got escorted by the staff there, and I was riding the Millennium Falcon alone. It was the most awesome experience I had had that day, throughout most of the time that I was there. And then I obviously went a bunch of times afterwards to try the different seats and stuff, but there was
Mhm.
nothing like that because when you're just riding it there and like everything else is automated, it was such like a crazy, like, oh my God, I'm in the Millennium Falcon. Like it was just, I was like a little kid. So much
Yeah.
fun.
I haven't done it alone because usually I'll go with my family, so I'll kind of like,
Mm.
man a different station. But I'm a huge fan of the Rise of Resistance. I definitely
Yeah.
like that ride better than the Falcon.
Yeah.
I forget what that ride is called,
Oh,
but
it's what is it? Not Smuggler's Run. Is it because when you have to take the fuel, oh my God,
yeah,
forgot the name
that
of it already.
the name always slips my mind. But I love the Rise of Resistance. I feel like that whole like getting to like kind of transition between different places and then
Yeah, I
being
like
like
that.
I feel like that is so different and unique, and I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of what they've been able to do with that. And then even
No
having,
joke.
the employees act and be like, "Get
Yeah.
on the line," and,
Mhm.
"You're a traitor," and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Oh my
That
gosh,
was
don't
cool. When
yell
you
at
get to
me."
see the first order troopers there and like some of them
Yes.
they move their heads and stuff. I thought that was cool. I actually like that. I think some stuff like that, like when you're going transition between different spots, kind of like when you're walking like, through through the like, the Hollywood Tower of Terror or something like that. You
Mhm.
get to see those little set pieces for different rides, or even like the Haunted Mansion, same
Yep,
idea. Those different set pieces in between parts of the ride, I think, are great while you're waiting
for
for the
sure.
ride. That's so much fun because you get to see all that Resistance or Rebel tech. You get to see a lot of Easter eggs in those cages with all the helmets and stuff. That to me, I thought was pretty cool. What I like too in Galaxy's Edge when you're walking around is like the downed, what is it, the X-wing, and
Mhm,
like the different set pieces they have walking around in the different areas. Even that market with some of the
mhm,
places there that you could buy stuff. There's like other little things you could see. What I loved that I thought was so cool, the soda like vendors that are there with like
yeah.
the little vending machines. They have moving droids that are talking and stuff, and they interact with them. I thought that was so cute.
Yeah, and they even have, like, a little section, I think it's, like, kinda near the droid depot, but a lot of people go there and they kind of, like, do, like, droid face-offs, and I was like, "Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh." I
remember
was like,
this.
"There's no
All the
way."
R2 units are like standing side by side. It's so
Yep,
fun.
it's definitely an interesting experience,
Hmm.
but yeah, good stuff. So, you wanna take a look at your collection? I know you sent me some videos, I kind of
Yeah.
compiled them.
Hmm.
Oh,
It's a lot, I know, because I
let me
collect a lot of like Star Wars games and stuff.
yeah, all good. So, these look like the PlayStations, a lot of the
This this
OGs.
right here is the entire collection of PlayStation games, or at least, yeah, I think that there's got all of them. Yeah, I think that's a no. The only
Phantom
ones that are not pictured there are, well, actually, no. Yeah, that's all of them. Yeah, because there's about six PlayStation games though. These are all released on the PlayStation One. What's different about this compared to what some people might notice that they've seen if they've played or seen any of these games or owned them. My Jedi Power Battles has a different cover. It has a special cover on it that wasn't around as much. It was limited because certain areas and certain like stores that were selling that game had a limited edition sleeve cover that has like the golden text with the lightsabers like that. But beyond
mhm.
that, like below it, it actually has the original like box art cover, which is Obi-Wan and Mace Windu fighting stuff. That's when Mace Windu had a blue lightsaber. He didn't have his purple one yet, which is
Really?
cool. But yeah,
Yeah,
but all those are all the original PlayStation One. Was it Star Wars games? Every single one, complete in box, because I like to get complete in box games when I have them.
for sure. And then that's the cup you mentioned from
That's the
Oga's.
cup from the cantina. That's my was it those or well, that right there? That's my lightsaber crystal, the kyber crystal, my holocron,
Holocron,
the
the
cup
little
or the
soda.
little soda.
And
Now
these are
these
those the
the
pieces,
Dejaric
right?
figures. This is the full set of Dejaric figures that are from Galaxy's Edge. That it took me a little bit to find the second set because I had gotten the first set, the first half, as a gift from my brother because we buy each other gifts and he's big into
Mhm.
Star Wars and he knows how much I love it. But the second one I had to actually go on eBay and find to actually get it at a reasonable price because they
Really?
can get pretty pricey outside of Galaxy's Edge themselves. They could get up to like $200+. And luckily, I was able to
Oh,
find one of them,
wow.
the second set, for like below 80. To actually get the full set in great condition, like mint and stuff. So I had the entire set. The only thing I'm upset that they don't sell at Galaxy's Edge, they don't sell a Dejaric board to put these figures on. You have to
Really?
actually have a board. There's no table or board to buy because I looked. I was like, I gotta get
Huh.
one like this to have. And they have like a toy version of the Dejaric set that has a table with it, but it's like a plastic sunny table. It's like not like these. These are like actual legit statues of the actual
Oh,
monsters and stuff. But I wanted a table set that's the board
yeah,
on the Falcon that you could put them on and actually have it so that way it looks like it. But they look cool,
interesting.
pretty
I thought
detailed.
they had a board at Disney
No,
Springs.
no,
No?
I looked so much, and I was like, I even went to the outpost at Disney Springs, right? So go
Yeah.
look there, and at the dock, no, what is it? The dock ondars and the other like little area and that little walkway when you're going up to the Falcon. There's all those little markets there. I
Oh,
looked
yeah.
at all those spots, and then I looked online. And it's like they don't make one. They don't sell one. It's like
Interesting.
that should be something they should make and sell, so that way
Yeah, I'm
people can get it.
surprised. I thought
Hmm.
they did, but I'm shocked. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm sure someone makes something on Etsy
Oh yeah,
somewhere.
they're probably, yeah. But
Yeah,
I wanted to get it from the same set, from
yeah,
Galaxy Edge and from the same company and stuff because I think it would make sense to have something like that.
yeah, yeah, I'm shocked.
Hmm.
But those are cool figures. Oh, so
So
that's
yeah,
the
this is
Jedi.
the actual thing. When I open it, I'll shows you. Besides the box art, so you can see there, like the manual is the actual box art. It's a little hard to see here, but like it shows that like there's two different versions. Now this is like some uncommon complete in box Star Wars games. That's Star Wars Arcade on 32X. That's from the accessory of the Sega Genesis. That again, you don't find it as easily complete in box because of the cardboard box that comes in and everything. But it's Star Wars the arcade game, but just remade for the 32X, and it's fun. I did a video about it on YouTube a while back where I actually got to play it and stuff. And then here to see these are all my X
Yeah.
or a bunch of Xbox games, completed box. One thing you should know when collecting games, when you buy them online, when you're
Mhm.
trying to get CIB, which is completed box, with Star Wars games particularly, there's always the registration cards from LucasArts games or Lucasfilm games now that come with these games that they were part of the marketing material with them. Sometimes they were either connected to the manual or actually
Mhm.
behind the manual. As you can see, they all have different artwork and different
Yep.
stuff. I mean, again, it's a little blurry here, but like with the Jedi Outcast one, it actually has Kyle Katarn fighting one of the bad guys on it and stuff, and it looks a little different. The Jedi Academy one, I think, has the main character on there. The not Clone Wars, Republic Commando has the Bravo team or the Fire team has that, which is pretty cool. But you always want to get the collections of those games with that are completed box with those registration cards, because then it's truly complete. Which is cool.
Gotcha. It's a good tip. Yeah, I used to have some of the OG like Xbox games, and I think when we kind of sold it, we sold the games, and I'm kind of like
Mhm.
kicking myself, but
You can
and
still
it's just
find them pretty easily on
I'm
eBay
sure.
for decent prices. But yeah, there's my droid. There's my R2D7. It is right
Yep,
there. I
it's
just
cool.
the one I did today was the accessories with the server thing. Like he's bought, you can't
Mhm.
really see it too much because it's a little small behind me, but he's got the little cup
Yep.
servers, like serving kit there, which is pretty funny.
Yep.
On
Very
there
cool.
too, in that little thing, you could see the bucket for Rogue One that I actually got at the theater for Rogue One. Behind it, it's a little hard to see there, but is 40th anniversary Star Wars: A New Hope lithographs that are for like the different countries, like their posters and other
Mhm.
artwork from like the original artwork from that first movie. And then of course, obviously, what is it? The droid from Jedi Fallen Order, which is
Yes,
pretty cool.
BD.
BD BD
That's like one of
one.
my I love him. I feel like he's such a I would love I think the Droid Depot does have I was gonna say I don't think they have a BD, but I'm pretty sure
I don't
they
think they
do.
have. I don't think they have one you can make, because I
Yeah,
remember
you
when
didn't
I
like
went,
purchase it.
they didn't have something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they have like a model that was actually like a BD droid that because of how popular the Jedi games are. But that one was surprisingly not that hard to put together when I got it. I found it a good deal on Amazon, and
Mhm.
it was pretty easy to put together. It looks good.
Yeah, it looks great, and it has a lot of really good functionality. You can, like, move the legs inwards and
Mhm.
outwards. He's
The
got
head,
even the little place where you can
eyes.
pull out the, what is it? The healing
Oh,
stuff.
the
Yeah.
stims, yeah, on
Yep,
the
the
side.
stems, so
It
it's a
comes with
really
a bunch of them. They go
yeah,
put inside to it. It has a little
yep,
bunch of little ones.
yeah, it's a
Pretty
great
cool.
build. Is
Hmm.
that the only Lego set that you have?
No, I
Or you have a
just
few?
got for Christmas. My brother and my cousin, they got me the Red 5 helmet, like actual that you could build for Lego. That I don't
Nice.
know if you can see. I think you see the box like right
Yep,
there. It's like behind me.
the
But I
helmet
just got
collection.
that, and I also bought my brother. I gave him as a gift the Boba Fett helmet at one point.
Nice.
Eventually, when I get some time and I get a little bit extra spinning cash, I'm gonna go buy the Darth Vader helmet just so I can have
Yeah,
that, so I can build it, because I think that's the one that looks the best, because there's a bunch of different ones and I think they get a
yeah.
little bit pricey stuff, but the best ones to me is like the Darth Vader helmet, the Mando helmet, the Boba Fett helmet. To me,
Yeah.
those look pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a decent amount of them over here. I still haven't built the, Commander Cody helmet, but I really
Mm.
like those, and I've got some of, like, the light sets to put that kinda, like,
Mm.
run through it, and it kinda
Oh,
glows.
I've seen a couple of them on Amazon, like especially for
Yeah.
BD1. What
Mhm.
is it? There's one that's sold on a third party company that's just a light set that runs through like some parts of him that just again make it look nice. It's just a little bit of a pain in the butt after you build it to like put all
Yep.
that stuff together, afterwards, because you got to make sure. I guess either while you're building it or after it's built, but it just does make it look pretty dope.
It looks really cool, but it's definitely very tedious, and some of them
Mm,
you have to, like, kind of remove certain aspects of it and then kinda,
mm.
like, put it back together, and I'm like, "Oh, this is it was
That's
hard to build the
difficult.
first time." Yeah. So, you never know.
Mm,
I like
mm.
that popcorn bucket there, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
on the other side, it says instead of just saying Rogue One, a Star Wars story, it just says Star Wars Rogue One with his original
Oh,
like label on top. Like I think I could even show you here on the camera, like that. I could pull it down and show you,
let's see.
like right here. See it in the camera here, where it just says Rogue One only in cinemas, like that,
Ooh.
and it looks pretty good. Like I wish they just kept it a Star Wars Rogue One rather than a
Yeah,
Star Wars story, because they never really went
yeah.
back to that title after the Han Solo movie. They just kind
Mhm.
of like, let it fly or whatnot. But I think it's pretty cool.
I
To
definitely
have
probably
that.
would have preferred it just being Star Wars: A Rogue One rather than, like, the Star Wars story, just
Yeah.
leave it as it is. And
Hmm.
then These looks like a different, like a kind of different types of. Are these all different types of
Okay,
PS?
so these are different games on different platforms. It's not everything because I do have more on these. Like obviously, I have all the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games. Leading into the Jedi games. Obviously, Battlefront. There you have Squadrons as well. The Force Unleashed on PlayStation 3, which is the
Hmm.
original release of it. Clone Wars Republic Heroes, which is the second Clone Wars game, because there's another one that's on the Wii and on the DS, which I actually have now. I have the DS one I
Really?
got recently from EB. This was after I got these pics and videos for you that it came in the
Hmm.
mail. And then the GameCube games, which I don't have all the GameCube games. I'm missing one key one, which is Rogue Leader that I've wanted to get, but I want to find it complete on eBay, in the same way that I get. But Bounty Hunter and Rebel Strike, which is the third Rogue Squadron game. Again, all complete, all in their original boxes and stuff. And most of these are classics, especially Bounty Hunter. Force Unleashed is classic. Obviously, the Jedi games. A lot of people love those. Those Battlefront games, as good as they are, they're nothing compared to obviously the original Battlefront games. For me, it's my preference because I love Battlefront 2 Classic from 2005. Those are, again, legendary Star Wars games for the way that they did stuff and everything else. But yeah, these are just a compilation of different Star Wars games here and there.
Gotcha. Yeah, the GameCube is pretty cool. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
had one of those in forever.
Yeah, then there you go. The Lego games, the Battlefront games, Episode 3, the Force Unleashed on PS2, the Jedi and Starfighter and Jedi Starfighter games, the pod racing games. Okay. I have all of them except for the one on N64 because the ones on N64, they are so ridiculously overpriced on eBay and other places. Like for no reason. Like no reason. I saw one complete, went from 99 cents all the way up to like over 100 something dollars that was done by the bidding. It was like, there's no way, as much as I like them, that I'm not going to pay that much for it. But
No,
then,
definitely not.
but those two, I ended up getting complete in box off of eBay. The two pod racing games, or the two, it's one pod racing and one mascot racer game, and then the original Clone Wars game on PlayStation 2, which I almost got the one on both GameCube and on Xbox. But once you get one game, it's literally the same across the board, for some of these games. Like, so a lot of those older LucasArts games that were Star Wars that were released on multiple platforms, there's very few of them that are very different. Like the ones that are big different are Revenge of the Sith, from the PlayStation 2 and Xbox version to the other ones, which I believe is like the DS and the Game Boy Advance. Those games are different. Oh, but like Clone Wars, it's the same exact game and stuff.
Gotcha.
And then these are all the ones I was just talking about. I got some of the worst and some of the best Star Wars games in this one picture.
What would you say what would be the good ones?
Okay, the good ones would be Dark Forces, would be probably Jedi Power Battles for some people, even though I did a whole video criticizing Jedi Power Battles. But like as far as quality is concerned with this group, it would be Dark Forces, Jedi Power Battles, and then maybe Clone Wars Jedi Alliance on DS. And then some of these other ones are like horrible. Like the worst ones out of this group is Flight of the Falcon, the worst Star Wars game ever made. Masters of Terrace Kasi is also pretty bad. And then what is it? New Droid Army is also another one. But that box for New Droid Army, I think I sent you a picture of it. The inside contents of it comes with special stuff. That's not a normal version of that game because it comes with specifically this stuff. There you go. It comes with not only the poster, but it comes with a very limited Darth Vader card from the Star Wars trading card game that you can't get anywhere else. It only came with that specifically, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going through the pictures earlier and I was like, wow, like that poster
that's
is really
that's real prequel era stuff, because afterwards the second run of that game didn't come with that. It was very limited for a time. When I found it on eBay, I was surprised that it was in such good condition, thank God, because one of the big things with older games in general, not just Star Wars games, when they come, especially Nintendo games, when they come in cardboard boxes, those degrade very easily because of many different things, life, time, people mishandle it or whatever. But when you find it in this pretty good condition, it's a gem. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I'm shocked because it's such a cool setup. I like that card. I like the poster, but for it to be kind of a meh game,
what's also cool is that what's it called? The little card behind the Darth Vader card. Like you can't see it here because I don't think I gave you a picture of it. But some of that promotional material is also stuff like pulled directly out of that era because there's promotions and other advertisements for other Star Wars games. There's also a lot of stuff referring to other Star Wars movies, like obviously the prequel movies and things like that, and other aspects that you just don't see anymore as far as promotional material. Again, it's a real time capsule of that era. So that one, I think, was probably 2002, 2003, give or take, like that. And then the actual Attack of the Clones game is the same thing, where it advertises this game and it advertises the Jedi Power Battles on Game Boy Advance.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a cool setup. So I got those games.
Yeah.
And then you sent me these. So that's your saber. You got a saber there.
That's
that looks
one
like
of them. That's not my saber that I built at Galaxy's Edge. That's actually a TXQ saber, replica of Return of the Jedi's Luke Skywalker's lightsaber that has a couple different sound fonts and stuff. It's not a NeoPixel. I want a NeoPixel. They're just expensive as hell. I want to get a good NeoPixel, like either Anakin's saber or something to add to my collection. But besides that, I have what is it? Bastila, obviously from Night Saber Blade. I got that recently this year.
GameStop, right?
Robin?
You got that at GameStop, right?
Yeah, I got that at GameStop because you could get it online on Amazon, but I saw it for a really good deal at GameStop. And I was like, I got to scoop it up because they sometimes have good stuff in those stores. And I saw a Darth Vader statue that was like a concept art version of it, but it was like a big version. It was like maybe about that big in a giant box. But again, the price was just way too much for it because they sometimes upmarket at GameStop depending on where you go. But yeah, and here besides Bastila, I have the Funko box, which is all nicely Old Republic stuff with the Rev and such. Inside of it actually has like lanyards and buttons and like an icon, an actual medallion of actual, I think it's the Old Republic or the Jedi Order from that era. And then the two games, which include the Atari 2600 Empire Strikes Back, really classic Star Wars game. That's the very first Star Wars game, by the way, the very first Star Wars video game of all time. And then Star Wars Arcade. And then the Luke, the two little special Legos, both the Luke with the blue milk and Poe Dameron's X-Wing for Skywalker Saga that I have.
That blue milk, wasn't that like a promotional
it comes with the game. If you get the collector's edition or the limited edition of the game, it comes with it like that, and you just get it. The Poe Dameron one, there was two variants. There was the Poe Dameron one and then the Luke Skywalker one. I wanted the Luke Skywalker one, and the damn people at GameStop didn't give it to me because they never got it. I was like, how am I want to choose? I want the Luke Skywalker Red 5 one, but I just took it because it was the only one available at the time. That came with a pre-order of the game specifically.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, GameStop, they do some pretty cool stuff. They've had a lot of stuff on sale recently, but they can definitely get up there in price, unfortunately.
Yeah, a lot. Big time. So
and then your TIE Fighter, which you can actually see behind you now.
Yeah, you can see it like on the corner, like right here. That's a first order TIE Fighter. I actually got that as a gift from a friend of mine. Inside of it is a TIE Fighter pilot, an actual figure in it. Yeah, there's an actual figure in it that, again, you can't really see from the picture because it's darkened, but you look through the glass. That reminds me of the old Kenner action figures. It's part of the newer set or whatever. I think it's the Black Series specifically with that one. But it's a first order TIE Fighter. And it looks pretty good. It's got weight to it. There, it's actually hanging on some strings, but that could hold up to like 100 pounds, so it won't fall on me when I'm sleeping. But I thought it was a cool, nice set piece to have there. And then here is all the Xbox Star Wars games that I have. I'm only missing 2 out of the entire collection, which is both the Clone Wars game, because I have it on PS2 already, and Revenge of the Sith.
Gotcha. So because you already have it on another console, are you going to try to get it for the Xbox as well, just to have it? Or
normally, if we're going to collect everything, then yeah, we'll go get it. But like, again, some of the games, they're the same across different platforms. Like there's very, very little difference between them. So I would just not get it like that. With Revenge of the Sith probably is the one game I would probably do so. If I find it on a good deal on eBay, I'm just going to scoop it up, especially if it's complete with the registration card and everything, because that game was so big on Xbox for what it was. I played it a lot more on PlayStation 2, which I thought was the platform for it, but I've met with friends and we played it on the Xbox, and it's still fun to play, but it's the exact same game. Like there's almost no difference to it.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, does it vary like that much?
One variant I could point to right now, the Star Wars Starfighter Special Edition. That's a variant from the PlayStation 2 one, because that version of the game has extra content from the PlayStation 2 version, which makes it a very different game at that point. And that one, I actually have 2 copies of it because I've learned a very harsh lesson. Never buy from DK Oldies and never buy from Lukey Games when you want to get retro games, because they either send you a game that is falsely advertised when it says complete in box and it's not actually complete in box. Because I was so mad when I got my Revenge of the Sith on PlayStation 2. I thought it was going to come with the registration card because they tell you it's complete in box. Did not come with that at all. Then Starfighter Special Edition. I have 2 copies of it because the first one I got, it looked like somebody took an X-Acto knife to the actual box, the cover, and just cut it up. So I've like flipped out on them. I'm like, I paid this money and like you guys sent me a copy
Yeah.
that was like garbage. Then they sent me a second one and it was still looked pretty bad. It looked like it saw some rough times. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never buying from any of those 2 companies again. This is why I go to eBay, because eBay, at least, you get a fair price, or at least you could find a fairer price and you can see the quality of it like in front of you before anything else.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime I buy off eBay, I always kind of like try to message the seller and get some pictures of it, just send it. And if they're like no pictures, I'm like, okay, you're kind of sketched.
Some
Then
people
I'm
are
not
nice though. Some people are
some
very nice on eBay.
I
They're very
yes.
courteous.
Yes. Some people, most people that I've run into have been very nice on eBay, which
Yeah,
surprises me because going into it, I was like really sketched out. I was like, I don't want to get scammed, blah, blah, blah. But
exactly.
I've gotten a lot of stuff off eBay, books, figures, and I haven't had an issue yet. So I definitely trust eBay
I like the
more than
option to
some of
check it.
these.
It's like the
Yes.
option to check in and also just go back and forth, because sometimes you could make a deal with them. You could wheel and deal with them, which is nice. Pay a little bit a little bit less. I think people mark up too easily sometimes on eBay when it comes to the quality of stuff. Because if you tell me something's like mint and I'm looking at the picture and it's crushed or scratched, like, come on, son, like what's wrong with you? The other one too that I find a little bit annoying is that when people put their price, but then they mark up the shipping and handling, that is
Oh
so
my God.
annoying to me.
Yeah. You're almost paying more in shipping than the
Yeah.
actual product. And I'm like, this doesn't
Or you're
make sense.
paying the exact same price as somebody else. Like another thing is like, yo, you got it cheaper, but like, yo, that shipping should not be like $10. Like, what the heck is this?
Yeah. Yeah, some of them get up there and they're shipping like very local too. And I'm like, I know if we're shipping
You're
from
like
up,
right there. Like I go
yeah,
walk to your house.
literally. Yeah. But I haven't had many problems with eBay. I've actually had some pretty good experiences. So I like eBay. Big fan of it,
It's
honestly.
a good spot for getting retro game stuff. I could definitely say.
Gotcha. Well, if I'm looking for games, I'm gonna go to eBay then.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah,
And
this is what I'm talking about, the variants, right? So I
yeah.
just got the Wii version of the Force Unleashed, which if you don't know, and I also have digital versions of this game too, because I have the Ultimate Sith
Mhm.
edition on Xbox on my Xbox Live, and I also have the Switch version of this game also, which is basically the Wii version. So each version of the Force Unleashed, the original PlayStation 3 release with Xbox 360 release, the exact same type of game. It's the original version that came out. Then the
Mhm.
Wii version has other content that's not in that version that also controls differently with the Wiimote and such. And then the PlayStation 2 version is another variant of that has other stuff. And then, not pictured here because I haven't gotten it yet, the PSP version has extra missions that are legacy missions that are actual like fights from the movies that have the Force Unleashed like mechanics to it. So imagine the fight with Dooku with Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith, but playing like the Force Unleashed. You get to play out that whole duel like that, and they have multiple fights like from Empire Strikes Back, from Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace. The list goes on, and it plays out like that. So each version has something that's different to it, and obviously the DLC that comes with, I believe it's the Ultimate Sith Edition for the PlayStation 3, as well as also the Xbox 360, because the other versions in the older consoles don't get that. They need to make a remaster of Force Unleashed and put all that content into one version for
Yes.
one massive thing for either the PS5 or Series X or the Switch at some point, because that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize there was such a difference, between some games
Yeah.
going from console to console. I didn't know that. I kind
You,
of thought,
you know, it's another one that's like that, Jedi Power Battles, like I mentioned before, because Jedi
mhm,
Power Battles is not the same on the PlayStation as it is to the Dreamcast, as it is to
gotcha.
the Game Boy Advance as well, because the Game Boy Advance is like a 2D game, or a top over 2D game that it has the same name, but it's nothing like it in actual practice.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that is good to know. Is it the
Mhm.
same like with games that are currently coming out, like Jedi Survivor? Is that the same across all platforms, or is that
Not
different?
I think for the most part, yes, because Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, they're both released on both the PlayStation 4 and at PlayStation 5, and then the Xbox Series X and S, and also I believe the Xbox One. Actually, no, I don't think there was an Xbox One version of Jedi Survivor. I think that might be Jedi Fallen Order that might have that. I could be wrong,
Possibly.
but the most part, most of the games are universal across the different
Okay.
platforms like that. Obviously the ones that don't get the game, so you can't really tell. PC is also another version. Keep in mind, PC is usually the same as the console versions like that. So if you're playing Jedi Survivor on PlayStation 5, it's the exact same game on PC, but obviously probably runs a little bit different depending on your system, the specs. You could tinker around with some of the stuff, and obviously the mods the mods is something that consoles don't get. So Jedi Survivor, I've seen a lot of people do like Darth Revan mods for Cal Kestis, and they like walking around playing as
Really?
Darth Revan or whoever else, and they'll do stuff like that. Same thing with Battlefront. Battlefront 2, specifically from EA, is infamous for its mods. Like the different mods that they put out there are ridiculous. This is why it was so sad that EA decided not to support it, because the stuff that fans are doing with these mods, they could have been having as paid DLC, and they could have been making hand over fist money. Same thing with Squadrons. Squadrons is another one that's like that. Get extra ships and stuff. It's pretty wild.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
More you know. Then we got the new droid army. We talked
Yeah.
about that one earlier. Still
Mhm.
so cool.
Now,
And then you
these
got
are all the
some of
PlayStation 2 ones that I mentioned before. Again, like all
yeah.
the different ones that we have.
Yep.
Obviously, you could find the Lego games are another one that are on multiple platforms, because the Lego games were
Mhm.
everywhere. They were on GameCube, they were on Xbox, they were on GBA, they were on Nintendo DS. They were on PSP. I have like some of the PSP versions. Like again, they're all different. And essentially the same idea with them. I had to think of all the Star Wars games I have. Those are probably the ones that have the most versions there that you technically don't really need, unless you're really going crazy trying to collect everything. But even then, it gets a little ridiculous.
Gotcha. I didn't even know that they made a Super Bombad Racing. That one was
Mhm.
really cool to see.
Imagine
I didn't
Mario Kart, like with
That's
with
what
pod
that
racing.
kinda is. Okay.
That's pretty much what it is. Like, because it's set mostly through like an episode 1 time frame, and then they
Mhm.
have as an unlockable bonus, you have Darth Vader in it. Because I think that came out before episode 2. I could be wrong, but I know like that game specifically was made during the episode 1 time frame. Same thing with Demolition. Star Wars Demolition on PS1 also came out around the time of Phantom Menace, when that was still like a thing. And then Clone Wars, the first Clone Wars game that's here on PS2, came out
Mhm.
I think just before, around the time of the movie, like that, because
Gotcha.
New Droid Army and Attack of the Clones were around that same time frame, but they're set within that range of the actual movie. So like New Droid Army is after the movie. It's like not episode 3 stuff, but it's like literally right after the Battle of Geonosis. And then this one
Gotcha.
is like Battle of Geonosis, but around that time frame just afterwards. It gets really weird and goofy. Same thing with Jedi Starfighter and Star Wars Starfighter is the same thing. That first one was around the time of episode 1 for the Battle of Naboo, which I think ends with the space battle above Naboo from the movie,
Okay.
like that. And then Jedi Starfighter, I think, is right after the Battle of Geonosis as well. That it's like that month or so right afterwards.
Interesting. Well, yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah. Definitely can get intense, it seems.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of games I didn't even know
Here you
existed.
go. These are my babies here. These games I've had for years. I've had since
Mhm.
96, 97, I think, or 95, like that. Rogue Squadron, legendary game. That one. The thing about these games, because they're not in their original boxes per se, they're
Okay.
what's called rental boxes. These rental boxes originally, you took the cardboard N64 box at the time and you put it in these plastic boxes. And these are the same ones that we use at rental stores, like the video store back in the day. You go there and rent a game or rent a movie and stuff. And they used to sell and allow people to rent games that are in these same boxes. So at least with me, I still have their original materials, like their manual and their boxes, even though they're a little roughed up, as you could see. But these
Mhm.
are authentic from the years that they were first released. Star Wars Shadows of the Empire is the first N64 game I played on the
Wow.
N64, period. Like that's the one I've had for years, like that, and still both of them are classics. Both of them are awesome.
Do they still, like you could still run and, like, play
Yeah.
them?
Well, yeah, I
Nice.
can still play them. I can still play. I play them plenty of times. Maybe not through the cartridge because I've played obviously the emulators and stuff, but I could pull out my N64 and still run it pretty good. Like it'll run perfectly
Nice.
fine with the original like controllers and everything. I even have that I think it's called Retro Fighters controller, which is an N64 controller, but it's made like a modern controller. So it still has all the buttons and
Gotcha.
stuff, but it's built like a modern day Xbox or modern day Switch controller.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's cool all the different ways and all the different games that they've come out. The Shadows of the Empire looks very interesting. What
If
is
you've
that
never
one?
played it, okay, so
Yeah.
Shadows of the Empire is one of the original EU stories that was like a big deal in the mid 90s. This was
Mhm.
around the time that the special edition came out. This was before episode 1. This is when Star Wars was getting a reemergence with the public domain, and not public domain, but like, fans out there, because we already had, I think it was after post 90, 93, 94, when we had the Heir to the Empire series of books. That was what
Mhm.
was keeping Star Wars relevant at the time, obviously VHSs. So Shadows of the Empire was a multimedia event that happened across books, comics, games, and soundtrack. This is the only EU thing that actually has its own soundtrack. The
Sure.
whole like tagline of it was a movie without a movie. So basically, you could play the game read the book by Steve Perry, read the comic that was from Dark Horse, and get the same story told through multiple different perspectives and multiple different tidbits that you could get from it, and then have the soundtrack to go with it that is all that stuff. The game itself has one track from the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack, and then the rest is all John Williams stuff from The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It's the Prince Shizor's palace theme that actually is the one theme from Shadows of the Empire from that soundtrack because of the limitations of the cartridge at the time on the N64, like that. But you play as Dash Rendar. You start from the Battle of Hoth, and then you go all the way through to right before the events of Return of the Jedi, which is right after the Battle of the Skyhook, which is Prince Shizor's Skyhook, which literally it involves a lot of different things. It involves like trying to find out where Han Solo is being taken in Carbonite by the bounty hunter Boba Fett. This is like there's a whole subplot, with Shadows of the Empire that takes place in that story where while Darth Vader is looking for Luke Skywalker, trying to turn him to the dark side, he's in this like battle for supremacy against Prince Shizor with the Emperor. Like Prince Shizor is trying to get the favor of the Emperor and trying to discard Darth Vader. That's a whole dynamic that makes that story very interesting. And, the only way that Shizor is trying to do that, he's trying to find Luke Skywalker before Vader does so he could kill him, make Vader look like an idiot. Like there's a lot of good stuff. You got to look it up. If you've never played it, definitely play it, but look up the details or look up online some of the synopsis on like Wikipedia, because it's one of the better EU stories out there that to me, I've said for years, should be brought into canon because it's such a cool time frame. This is when Star Wars Outlaws takes place. It's the same exact time frame as Shadows of the Empire. It's between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But so I don't know if they're going to implement elements from this story into that, but if they do, it'd be a really cool thing to see because of like what Star Wars Outlaws is going to be essentially.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if it's kind of the same time frame. I wonder if they're going to kind of implement.
I should say like the same time frame between movies like that, within that, like between Empire and Jedi. But I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the exact same timing of where that story takes place, because when Shadows of the Empire ends is literally right before Return of the Jedi, where Luke, Leia, Lando, Chewie, they're all going to Tatooine to go to Jabba's palace.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty cool if they did implement some of the stuff from, Shadow of the Empire into Outlaws, kind of, make a full circle.
I would love that. The toys were a big deal too, because that ship that you see on the corner of the box on the left corner, that's the Outrider. That's Dash Rendar's ship, and that was a big toy for that line. And obviously all the other stuff with Shadows of the Empire with Prince Shizor and such. But I would love to see stuff like that. That ship actually appears in the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga game. That's an unlockable that they call it the YT-100 freighter, but you look at it, it's literally the Outrider. Like everybody immediately recognizes that, but you could fly that ship. You can get it as a flyable ship once you do a couple things in Skywalker Saga.
Interesting. Maybe I probably haven't gotten to that. I'm only on like this.
You got to do a bunch of side content. You'll look it up and you'll get it, and like you start flying around. It's a really cool ship. It's really dope.
Cool. Well, I think those are all the pictures that you sent me. We'll go like that. So I guess you primarily focus on collecting video games and stuff like that. You do have a few other things that you collect, but how long have you kind of been in the collecting game, or how long have you been collecting video games?
Collecting video games, I have to say over 20 plus years, give or take, because I've collected games since I was very young. My first video game that I ever played was like maybe about 3 or 4 years old, which was Sonic the Hedgehog on Genesis. I'm a Genesis kid. It's cheesy how that works out, but literally I was born the same year that the Genesis or the Mega Drive was made. And then that was my first console that they got in the household because of my older brother. He got it a year after I was born, where the North American release happened. So when the Mega Drive was made, I was born, and then the year when it came here to the States. But ever since then, when I first played that game, afterwards, I've been collecting Genesis and everything else since then. Obviously N64, obviously PlayStation 2, and then everything else beyond that.
Gotcha.
A lot of games.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Do you have like a most valuable like game to you?
Most valuable.
Doesn't have to be monetary.
It's a weird question to answer, because I feel like that could change, because there's games that I have a lot of like emotional and nostalgic value to, and really like, things that are close to my life. Obviously Sonic 1 is a big one. Like the Sonic 1 that I have is the promo cartridge one that was sold inside the bundle of the Genesis one when it came out here, but it wasn't the original Genesis bundle in. The one that I have that was the actual bundled in game with the Genesis was Altered Beast. that one has a special place because that's the actual original console bundle that has the Ultra Beast symbol on the box and stuff.
Mhm.
And I have that. That's another one. I have Mortal Kombat 2 on Genesis. I have complete. Like I could even pull it out right here, show you. The original box comes like that I've had for years. So I got this in Toys R Us that I've had like years ago, and I got this with Sonic 3. As comes with everything. Again, you can see how banged up it is and stuff, but there's a lot of nostalgic value to stuff like that. So Genesis games, for me, whoops, if I could put this in here without looking awkward on the camera. But yeah, a lot of the Genesis games to me, I have a lot of nostalgic value. There's other games that I've gotten. I actually have a funny story where I got a good chunk of my Genesis collection and also my N64 collection. So I used to live in New York years ago. Okay, I lived there for over 20 plus years. And at one point, there was all the video stores around everywhere in the United States and stuff. They were starting to get shut down because a lot of people weren't going to the video stores and renting stuff out. Times were changing because the digital landscape was coming. There was a lot of things that were changing up big time. And one of the things at one point, my video store in my area, which was like down the block from where I lived, they were trying to get rid of their old stock. So all their cartridge games, some of their older disc games like PlayStation 1, maybe a little bit of PS2, but mostly PlayStation 1, Dreamcast, etc. And they had this box at one point for me where I went there and they were just telling people just take one, just take the cartridge and stuff and just leave it there because they wanted to get rid of them because they can't sell them. A lot of people are just not buying. So at one point when I noticed this, I kept going every day and taking one game like that. So the people behind there noticed it and they just want to get rid of it. And it's like, hey, if you want, you could just take this whole thing. I'm like, okay. So imagine this little kid, okay, maybe about, how old was I? It had to be late middle school into early high school with this giant cardboard box full of Genesis cartridge box games and Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 1 stuff, walking down the block like this giant box, like covering my face as I go home with this thing. When I brought it home, my mom, she swore to God, she thought I robbed the store or something because it was so big, it was so packed with all these games that I just took because they just wanted to get rid of them. And I had that, and I got a huge boost in the amount of items I had in my collection.
Wow. Do you still have most of those games?
I have all of them. I have every single one of them. Like, I think, hold on, let me say, like, I can show you the setup. You see them up there?
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, there's some of the N64 games are stacked, but like those are all the Genesis games that I've had over the years. So a lot of sports games, a lot of the fighting games like Shaq Fu, like what is it, the WWF games, obviously the Batman games, Mortal Kombat, etc. All the cardboard or the plastic boxes you could see there. Those are the ones that were rentals that people could get bundled into. And then up on the top, again, I can't reach it, but the N64 games have the same thing at one point. So it's a lot of games that I've gotten with that, strictly from that boost alone. And then everything else over the years I bought myself, like, the PlayStation games. Like, I don't even think you could maybe see on the side here. You see the bookshelf right here?
Oh, gotcha. All the games.
All PlayStation 2 games. And then the bottom is PlayStation 2 and Xbox original games. And on the top is PSP. What is it? PSP, Nintendo Switch, etc. I don't remember if I showed you a picture of the PSP Star Wars games, because there's one I think you would get a kick out of. I don't remember if I did, but I have almost all the PSP games that are Star Wars, since we're Star Wars podcast here. So some of the real classic ones that people have seen before.
Wow.
So I have all the Battlefront games, but more specifically this one here that was also on the DS that you hardly ever see anymore, especially complete in box, because this is one of the first few Ubisoft Star Wars games, especially one with a female protagonist. If you remember Dark Forces, right? With Kyle Katarn, this story with was it Rihanna? I think it's Rihanna Sarin. Yeah, she works with Kyle Katarn getting the Death Star plans. This was Rogue One before Rogue One, basically, like that.
Interesting.
So it's pretty wild. But yeah, that's cool. Most of the Star Wars games, with the exception of Force Unleashed and the Republic, Clone Wars, Republic Heroes. Other than that, those are all the big ones like that.
Wow. Yeah, those are cool. There's some games that you have that I didn't even know existed, so it's pretty cool to kind of see.
That's not even everything. Like, as far as ones that I haven't gone yet. Like, I didn't get Battle of Naboo on N64, which is the sequel technically to Rogue Squadron. I don't have the Episode 1 racer game, again, because a lot of these, they sometimes get very pricey when it comes to buying them online, between eBay and everywhere else. And a lot of the retro game market is a little messed up because of overpricing.
Yep, totally. Do you find sometimes I know that when I've gone to, like, local events and conventions, some of the vendors will have, some of the retro games and stuff.
Mhm.
Do you find, like, those vendors reliable? Have you found games through
Not
those or
well, the most recent one I found was the Wii version of Force Unleashed. That was the
Mhm.
one that I found it for $5 and was complete, and he's like, "Yeah, it's $5." I'm like, so I scooped it up before anybody else
Yeah,
did. But,
immediately.
there are others that I've seen that have sold games, but they're not always reliable price-wise, and I think that sometimes people tend to be a little bit overzealous with pricing, thinking that they have a gem, because the problem is, a lot of these games, you're either gonna buy them, you're never gonna play them, or 2, they're not that great. Like, they're not it's not like to me, a gem that, is worthy of the price of a high price point would be like Super Mario Brothers on the NES, like a complete in box original Super Mario Brothers is from like 1987, yeah, 80,
Mhm.
85, 86, whatever, like that. Whenever it came out, is in perfect condition. Okay, that I can understand. Like that's a culturally significant game. It's highly beloved. They made a bunch of them, obviously, but like that's a game I can understand. Or the first Legend of Zelda, complete in box, the gold cartridge, like that. That makes sense to me. Getting something like Super Star Wars, as much as I love Super Star Wars, like that, complete in box on Super Nintendo, that should not run people a couple $100s. Like that's insane to me. And you'll see people like that where they put it in the plastic box, like they got like mint condition comics or something, and it's like, yo, like I'll pay fair prices for something. I think the most I've ever paid for a game that was retro was maybe I think it was the new Droid Army, which was close to $30 or almost $40 because of that edition of it, because it was in perfect condition. That was the only reason why
Mhm.
I did it, because it was the only one around. But
Gotcha.
I won't go that high with most of the actual games because I just don't think it's worth it like that. People got to find a better way to look at the value and the pricing of certain games, so that way everybody could win in the end. Otherwise, people are just not going to buy.
God. Is there, like, a website? Because I know, like, with Funko and stuff, we have, like, HobbyDB and the Funko app that, like, gives us kind of a price of what it's estimated at. Do they have something like that for
There's a
games?
couple. Now, I don't remember the name. I can actually tell you right now, like when I look it up, like the price, it's like pricecharting.com for like games and comics and stuff. Usually that's like a basic bare minimum. But the problem
Mhm.
with this though is that not everybody agrees on stuff. And it's very hard, as you know, when it comes to like different collectibles, whether it's Funko, whether it's like, comics, whether it's figures, etc. There's
Yep.
no like universal body or universal like, collaboration for people to find out like, the exact price of like what would be fair across the board. And with
Yeah.
games, it's so messed up right now within the last like, I want to say maybe over a decade, give or take or more, especially with the rise of a lot of retro gaming YouTubers and creators that make videos where the demand for these games go up because of,
Mhm.
people seeing the videos and stuff. And that there's nothing wrong with them doing that. But what happens is that you get the people that sell these games or have the inventory to do that, and they jack up the price thinking that, because of the interest, these will be hot sellers. So like the angry
Gotcha.
video game nerd will do a video about Star Wars games, and some of those Star Wars games he talks about, people want to see them, they want to buy them, they get nostalgic. All of a sudden, some of those games are going for 50, 60, 70, $100 plus, like that, which is
Yeah.
insane. Like that, you're never going to get someone to pay full price more than a brand new retro or brand new modern game for like Yoda stories. There's no earth that people would be like, okay, that's a good deal. It's like it's Yoda stories. It's on the Game Boy Color, or on PC. Like, why would anybody want to pay so much money for that when you could go buy Jedi Survivor right now for that or
Yeah.
less, technically? But there are instances like that, and it's because nobody could really agree on the pricing and stuff. This is why I find eBay tends to be a little bit more fair, because either you
Mhm.
could go back and forth with people, or some people they'll have reasonable price ranges where you could work with them to find out what's good, especially if it's for special edition stuff, games that come with other things like the cards for New Droid Army, or come with special promotional material, or come with like other stuff that were from their original run, like the Jedi Power Battles, like that you won't find as easily compared to the
Yeah.
original Jedi Power Battles, which is just, thing itself. There's little things like that you can end up finding here and there.
Gotcha. No, that totally makes sense. I know when certain YouTubers and people start talking about certain things, and
Mhm.
people who have it that are selling it will totally jack up the price, and sometimes it's not always what you
Legos
think
are
it's
like that.
worth.
Legos are could get
Legos are
insane.
definitely like
Like the
that.
little Boba Fett from the Bespin thing like that goes for
Oh, the
like
Cloud
hundreds
City
of
Vogel.
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I understand like it's sought after because that's like the first Boba Fett, stuff like that. But then there's other Lego sets that are like get exponentially high. It's like it's nuts.
Yeah, especially the older ones, and if they're still in the box, if they're still
Yep.
sealed, like, it's definitely a crazy game. Because I used to have a ton of Legos, and now I kinda kick myself, kinda like what you were saying earlier. I had all these Lego sets that are worth so much money now, but as a
Mhm.
kid, I didn't know and I got rid of them. And now, if I was to try to go
You're
back
like,
and rebuy
"Dang!"
them, they're
Like,
like
I
so
could have been
expensive.
rich.
Literally.
All the
Yeah.
credits are gone. Like,
Yeah.
here's an interesting question for you, as a preference. Do you prefer, like, with collectibles, NRFB or out of the box? Because, like, for me with games, like, if they're out of the box, I think it's, to me, more personally, it's more valuable because you get to see the insides and the guts of it. Because when it's sealed, there's a question of if that's actually sealed from that era. That's a big
Yep.
problem, especially in the retro game market. But also, too, you don't get to enjoy what's the inside of it. So I don't get to see the LucasArts registration. I don't get to see the manual. Like, to me, for games, that's an intimate part of it for me. But it might be different for you with other collectibles, right?
Yeah, I know that it definitely varies per collector. Personally, I have a lot of my Funko Pops out of box. Like I have my
Mhm.
whole Death Star set up there, but for the ones that I don't have displayed on that, I do have them in box, but I kind of rotate them out. And I
Mhm.
definitely will take most, I pretty much have taken every single one out of box at some point. I just have them stored in box just for safety and I
Mhm.
don't have a place to put them.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with you. I think that when you take it out of the box and you get to kind of see, what it is, you get to see some details that you would have missed if you didn't take it out of box. And like with my Legos, most of them, I have all of them built. My figures, I have most of them out. So I'm definitely more of an out of box collector than in box. And if they are in box, it's probably just because I have nowhere to put them at the moment.
You know what I also find too, like the stuff that is sealed or in box gets exponentially higher with the prices that they kind of get. And
Yes.
sometimes to me, I think it could be a little bit too ridiculous because again, you're going to buy that as an investment just to hold on to it to maybe resell it, if not
Yeah.
ever truly enjoy it. Because again, with games, because opening that box and looking at this stuff inside of it is so part of that experience and part of like what you could actually get the value from it with. Like
Mhm.
again, for example, the Star Wars arcade on 32X that I have, like some of that stuff you just don't see anymore, like let alone see it complete in its box. Like looking through the manual, looking at how certain things were worded back then during that era of gaming, which is the 16 to 32-bit era of gaming, before
Yeah.
things started going really crazy with 3D. Like that type of stuff is a time capsule of that specific time frame or that, range of years like that, which you don't get if you keep it sealed, let alone being able to look at the cartridge or anything else. That's why I'm like you. I like stuff out of box specifically for games where I pay a fair price, but I also get to enjoy more of it. Like even if I don't play the games, like I'm not going to play
Yeah.
a lot of these PSP games ever again. But if I ever want to look at the manual for some of them like that, like they're there, and I could just like appreciate it and like really get something out of it, or even just for reference, just to see it. One day if I
Yeah.
ever am up to it.
No, I get that. And kind of like to what you were saying earlier is people could even be selling them and it's mint, it's sealed, it's never
Yeah, and
been
it's not.
opened,
It's
it's always
resealed. That's the
and then,
worst.
you get it and then being an out of box collector, take it out of the box and you see that the base is covered in dust,
Yep.
aka it was in out of box
Or
at some point.
damaged. That's the
Yeah.
worst. When you see something damaged, I'm so mad. Like,
Yeah, I definitely I mean, like, if I buy it and I know what I'm buying and I know that, hey, it's got this dent here, it's got a little scratch here, that I'm fine with, but when you send it to me and it's not like the pictures you sent me, it's kinda confusing because 'cause I'm like, "What
yeah.
did you send me pictures of?" Because that's not what I had purchased, or maybe it got dinged up in shipping and stuff, but I've never really had issues with shipping. Most people do package stuff very nicely, especially with
Mhm.
collectible items, I've noticed. But it kind of gets confusing, and I'll call them out too. I'll be like, "You said this was sealed. You said it was mint. It's definitely
Yeah,
been
I
out of
hate
box,
that.
you
So
know?"
annoying.
And you pay extra for that essentially
Yeah, exactly.
sometimes.
This is why, like, usually with eBay, you gotta take people to task sometimes and really give them consequences when stuff like that happens. I learned that from my brother because he buys more, like, other collectibles on eBay. He was the one who put
Mhm.
me on to looking at it a little bit more, and there was one time he told me, I can't remember what type of Star Wars I think it might have been either was it a pup or some other like comic or whatever that he had gone, and it wasn't exactly as described in like the description area and the pictures and stuff. And I remember he made some sort of complaint, and that person ended up losing their entire seller page because of that, because it was so egregiously like different from when he
Yeah,
actually bought it, and he got his money back on top of that, and then got to keep the
nice.
item, which was even better for him. It was pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot of control over some of those situations too on eBay. I feel like they take what, the buyer has to say and you can leave reviews and kind of rate the sellers, especially like
Mhm.
on Whatnot and stuff. And that definitely controls what they can sell and how many people they're able to reach. So it's definitely pretty interesting. Yeah.
Definitely.
Um, yeah. But to answer the question, I am an out of box collector essentially.
Gotcha.
I definitely
I
take
feel
things out. I like to look at it. I know some people don't. but it is a personal preference. If you like to keep it in box, then you can keep it in box. But for me, I do like taking it out and kind of seeing stuff because then I can notice certain things that I wouldn't have noticed if I just left it in the box. And I can
Exactly.
always put it back, you know? Just
Exactly.
gotta be
And
careful.
you have it there. It's like it's part of the whole package.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think that pretty much does it. Do you have any other, interesting things that are going on your channel or
Yeah.
upcoming?
So I'm doing a lot as always. Like I said, I'm always on YouTube
Yep.
every single week, new uploads. I'm on TikTok every single day at JakeJamesLugo, literally uploading stuff about games, about Star Wars, about movies, about pop culture stuff all the time. I'm trying to grow the channels past at least 10K followers, at least at some point. It's a long haul. I'm slowly getting there, but I still got a long way to go. So check those places out. Follow me on Twitter or X. I'm always on there at JakeJamesLugo, sharing stuff literally every single day. If not new content, other stuff that I try to talk with people about in regards to gaming, in regards to Star Wars, in regards to movies, etc. Same thing with Instagram. I'm like that. I'm on there all the time. I'm on Threads as well all the time. Same thing. And again, Patreon's the only other spot because I don't really do streaming like on Twitch and stuff. I've kind of gotten away from Twitch. That platform
Mhm.
just seems to be a little goofy right now. And I've always liked the more on-demand content where it's not live like that, but it's still fun to make regardless. But
Yep.
I'm on Patreon. I put a lot of stuff on there that's exclusive. Like for $1, a lot of people could get a lot of exclusive content on there for podcasts, exclusive videos, early access to some new videos here and there whenever I have time. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. And then I'm going to be writing and doing new content on a new website very soon that I'll be able to announce. That's going to be different from .esports, but going to be writing about games, hopefully about Star Wars stuff. I'm hopefully going to be very soon pitching something about Star Wars related to them that I could be able to write because I want to put out more content like that. That's published work from me that
Yeah.
people could read and see, because I want to be an authority as far as games and as far as Star Wars stuff in media, as a personality talking about that stuff, whether it's on podcasts or in written form. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And yeah, just riding out the holiday season because Christmas just happened for us now. So
Yep.
after this, I'll probably go get some eggnog and just chill, maybe go see a movie later.
Absolutely. Sounds like a great time, but definitely check out his channels. I'll go ahead and link them down in the description. He's a great guy. I always love running into you at different kind of events
We got to hang
locally.
out again soon because
Oh
there's
yeah.
either we got to go to Glitch Bar or something again. Because one time I went to Glitch Bar down here. Good for anybody that doesn't know, Glitch Bar is like a bar slash barcade. People go to. Just randomly ran into. I was like, oh my god, what are you doing
Yeah.
here?
It was definitely very random. I was like, "Wait, is that Jake?" And I was like, "Oh,
What are you
yes, that
doing
is
here?
Jake
You
James."
don't have
And
to be
so
here.
yeah, but it's always
So
cool to see
random.
you at the like the Flynn's events or,
Yes,
the movie premieres when I can make those. I know it's
You
tough
know, you
with
know what you
school
missed?
sometimes.
You didn't come to it. You didn't come to the Flynn's holiday like market thing because that was fun. They had Star Wars stuff there.
Yes.
That was cool. That was
Yes.
fun. You would have gotten a
I
kick out of
totally forgot about I had it on my calendar and for whatever reason I spaced
it.
it out, but I'm gonna try to go to those. I do like going to those events, so I don't know
Yeah.
why I had such like a brain fart
Whenever
that
one
day.
comes up, I'll always post about it so you can look it up so we
Yeah.
could go that way because there's always like a good group of people there like that goes to multiple events and stuff,
Mhm.
because we always see like a lot of each other, at some of the same events and whatever's going on and such. And
Yes.
it's usually fun.
Yes, always a good time, and I appreciate you coming on and chopping it up
Thank
with
you.
me, all things Star Wars, especially getting a different perspective from the gaming world, because I know that that's not something I'm super big into, or like that I've made my way into, so it's always cool to kind of, get different perspectives. So it was great
Yeah.
chatting with you,
Anytime.
and I appreciate you coming on and taking your time to
Thank
chat with
you.
me. And I think that pretty much does it. So I'll see you guys next Thursday.
Later.
Later.